So I'm down here in Chicago, and it's -6 below zero. I don't know what the wind chill is, but a cold night in the city. So that means you can see what's being released from the sewer system because the air is warmer. And so you can see the gases that are, released from the sewer system into the atmosphere. So I'm turning here, and you can see the two sewers. Right there, you can see them. A car is coming with its lights glaring. But those are two sewers, and it's the moisture that you can see that's creating that mist. So that's moisture particles. But what are those moisture particles made up of? Truly. So if the sewer has all kinds of contamination in it, all types of bacteria and other things, rat droppings and so on, that might have viruses or other things in them, well, when they dry and flake, then they're rising out of the sewer system and getting put into the atmosphere within the city. So it's interesting, because they have the vents, and those vents are releasing different forms of gas and all kinds of different types of particle substances, depending on what's being put down the sewer system. And again, the city has no control over what people throw down the sewer. And so they can throw whatever they want down the sewer system, whether it's sulfuric acid or anything else. And they might eventually get pipe damage and have, issues themselves and have to get it fixed. But again, there's literally nothing governing what goes down the sewer. Now, like I said, the sewer can create inspection valves where matter that is dumped into the sewer, as I said before, would be analyzed and tracked back to the source. And so, again, you have to be able to analyze the waste entering the sewer system and where it's coming from, so you can track it back to a residence and fine them for illegal dumping. So one way to illegal dump is just pour it down your drains, throw it in your toilet and flush it. And so there's all forms of illegal dumping. And so we have to set up smart sewers that analyze the sewage that is getting placed into the sewers. And so you can see all these sewers, like this one right here. I'll slow down. But right there you can see everything that's coming out. And that's a lot constantly being put into the atmosphere on a continuous basis. if you can't control what's going in, then you can't control the fumes and what's being released. So eventually, you're going to have to get to some type of smart sewer system where you have valves that it connects to the sewer from private to the public sewer system, and those valves analyze the waste coming into the sewer. And then the valve is sighted, and then they have to track it back, like if it's a, high rise or thing for the unit, and then they have to have the inspector come out and, using drone technology, track it back to the source. So it has to run through the sewer, tracking it back to going up the stack. So it has to be able to move up the stack and track it back to the input. What drain pipe from what resident dropped it into the stack. And it's the same when we're doing trash. And people throw out anything they want into the trash. And we have to now, like dead bodies like Jeffrey Dahmer, but we have to now get the ability to somehow tag trash. So when the bags are picked up, somehow they have to be labeled. Because you're supposed to be putting the trash in trash bags. And those trash bags need to be tracked back to the residents. So when it goes to the sorting facility, it's in a bag. And that bag is tagged when it's picked up. And so you have to work with trash trucks that can, when they pick up, that it goes into a sorting compartment in the trash truck. Instead of this big general bin, you're throwing everybody's trash in together. Trash trucks now have to individualize the load and tag and place the load. And yes, the load will be compacted and so on. But again, you want to identify the load to the particular house or business. So when you have multi-units, they might have to get a special tag from the city that they put on their trash. And every bag that goes out has to have its own tag. So, and you can't throw any loose trash out. Everything must go in a trash bag. No, that's okay. I won't go here. But everything needs to go into a trash bag. And so, I'll come back to Wendy's. So you can't do things like before. We have to create tracking. And so the city can do this. I mean, Jen went to the alderman's office and she used to buy books. And those books were for guest parking. And each book she purchased was recorded to her, Jennifer Kim. And so when I put the tag in my window for street parking, allowing me to park on the street, we had to pay the city of Chicago every time for me to park on the street. And she picked up the books, and she paid for the books. It was her thing to be able, park in her neighborhood. So I had the book, and I put the pass every night on my window. So I would have to pay for parking. And I did that when I parked at her place for years. And that segment was recorded to her. So they knew I was a guest of Jennifer Kim with that tag that went into the window, because you had to put it on your dash and it had to be visible. And a cop scans that and it shows up, guest of Jennifer Kim, and then it gives her address and everything. And so she's accountable for me as a visitor. And so she had to buy these visiting booklets, and every night I had to put one, every night I stayed, I had to put one in on my dash. So this was an added fee that we paid every night to park in the city with a car on the street. Now there's no meters in her area, and so it was registered to her. She was responsible for my vehicle. So if anything was awry, they would contact her. And the plate number and everything. So you have to register the guest, and you buy the books and you give the plate number of the guest. But you should be able to now go online, and before you give a guest a pass, you have to snap their plate. And maybe you snap the plate and you have to snap the VIN number. And you could easily require them to register online. They have to take a picture of the car with the plate on it, and then a picture of the VIN number, and then register it in online, and then they can put the pass in the window. And now the city of Chicago knows the plate and the VIN number related to the vehicle, and then they have to put down the guest's name. And so what do? They have to put in their driver's license number into the guest registry, and it has to match. If it says driver's license number doesn't match car registry, and you have to know rental cars have exceptions, but the rental car company puts in the driver's license, scans it in front and back, and it goes into the registry front and back, and it goes into the registry when you rent the car. So they have your picture and everything. And a better thing is the rental car company has to take a picture of you, and then the front and back of your driver's license, and the live picture they take at the time you rented the car goes in with the driver's license. And so the system matches and verifies the driver's license and matches the picture of the person to the driver's license at the rental car place. Remember the bombing of the World Trade Center? They rented a van. Remember the Oklahoma City bombing? They rented a van. They rented a truck, I should say, for Oklahoma City, a rental truck. And now you don't want them. They have to give a live picture of them and then their driver's license, front and back. And if it's a foreigner, they have to give a picture of their passport. And they still need a driver's license. So you get their driver's license, their passport, and a picture of them. And that gets recorded in the system. And that gets tagged with the vehicle. And why is this critical? Because they're not going to get away with the crime. So it eliminates anyone like Timothy McVeigh who drives it there and walks away because the license is checked and cross-checked. Their picture is cross-referenced with that information. And they can do any form of criminal background checks. So just like the TSA and flying, they have the watch list and you can't fly. Well, it's the same with the rental car. And flag that this person can't rent the car. You can be a tourist. Me and Jen traveled and we didn't rent cars and we used public transportation in New York. Truly. And we take cabs. Now you can take Ubers and Lyfts. But you don't have to rent a car. That's a privilege, not a right. So the system should do that. And so these people aren't going to do car bombings and that. How they do car bombings is they want a nondescript and they park it and they walk away. So the car isn't registered to them. But when you're tight like Illinois, you have to have front and back plates and that it changes the game. And so, again, we can do a better job with people coming in and that and making sure and matching them. And this means, say you're dealing with spies. Well, then they're going to be coming on under that. You won't have the Jason Bourne scenario where they go out, they come in, or you won't have the Jackal scenario, which is true. You go in under one passport, you leave, and then you come back under a different passport. And they have different names. So you stop people from being assassins because they don't want to be tracked going in and out of a country. And the Jackal, this is the problem with Europe, is they don't track people moving from country to country. And the problem we had with Ted Bundy, he moved around the country for the longest period of time. Some say he killed over 100 and something women. But he moved all over the place killing women. And there are numerous serial killers that just move around killing people. Well, now with the database, they can match people with their movements. And it doesn't mean it just flags them for investigation. They were in this area and a crime happened. They were in this area and a crime happened. And remember, my post I posted about Big Brother, that was about these people being suppressed that were righteous people doing good work, scientists and others, and they were getting their ideas stolen from them. And they were, working under the government's thumb, and the government wasn't treating them right, and so they were under oppression. And so there are a lot of reasons. So they decided to leave the Soviet Union or China because they weren't being treated properly. They weren't doing crimes. It's a big difference. They weren't doing crimes like the Freecas in Cuba. They weren't going out doing crimes. So they found a way that they can express their music in that. And it wasn't like, anti-Castro music. It was punk rock talking about life and so on and so forth, but it wasn't anti-Castro music. So, anyways, not to get into them, but again, they found a way to allow, and I don't know why Castro didn't allow punk rock. But again, these are actually good, decent people, and they were getting suppressed, and that's why we give refugee status. We don't give refugee status to criminals. We give refugee status to people that are following the law, that are exploited. We don't give refugee status because you're a gay person in Saudi Arabia. You're born in that country. You chose to live in that country. You don't get refugee status. That's a crime, and you know it's a crime. That's on you. It's like Russia should be forced to turn Edward Snowden back over to the United States because he's a fleeing criminal. He committed a crime and in turn needs to be turned over. So it's big difference. We protect those that don't break the laws of their system, like Gary, the Russian chess player. I got some stupid Uber behind me beeping at me. Fuck you! What a piece of shit in this car. Where am I going? There's traffic up here. I can't go anywhere. Here he is sitting. He's one car better. He's a terrorist, in my opinion. He can't wait in line and wait his turn. He's unrighteous. He's a bully. Truly, he's bullying. What if people did that on the highway when there's stop and go traffic? You ever sit in? I sat in traffic in Los Angeles, Arizona on the 101 or 202, or in Chicago, bumper to bumper. I don't sit there beeping at people in front of me, telling them to get out of my way when I'm sitting in traffic. And I sit in traffic for, like, I used to go to Vernon Hills, 2.5 hours of freaking traffic at the max. I just have to wait my turn in line. I'm not going to beat my horn at everybody, bullying them, pull over, like I'm some emergency vehicle. But you allow this here. How about if people did that on our highway systems, or getting out of a concert? like at Rosemont or United Center, and you got to wait in line in the parking lot, and all of a sudden you're beeping, beep, beep, get out of my way, get out of my way. And so you're going to beep your way all the way up to the front? What do you think's going to happen to you? Truly, how many people are you going to piss off? And those people aren't going to move their car, and then they're going to block you in, and then they're going to drag you out of the car and beat you. Because I guarantee you will anger so many people if you tried that they would literally beat you. You would be blocked in, your car couldn't go anywhere. They smash your window, pull you out, and pound you. Because you have no right. Truly. And so you're talking, no one does that because of the little ramification of inciting a crowd against them. They would incite mob violence upon themselves. And what are they going to do? Back and forth and hit cars? They're already boxed in, so they can't go anywhere, so they're going to back up and keep on ramming back and forth? Well, your car isn't going anywhere anyways. And eventually, they'll pull you out and they'll beat you silly. So, I want to give you an idea. There would be, in that situation, massive social justice. So it's like that on the thing. So when I see that car in front of me, I'm in line. Just like I've sat in traffic for decades. It's not my turn. I have no right to beep at them. I have no right to terrorize them. So why don't you do that in LA rush hour traffic and see if you don't get the shit beat out of you, where the cars just stop around you, box you in, and the mob pulls you out of the car and beats you silly. Because that's what will happen. Why do you think the cops beat Rodney King? Out of pure frustration of chasing him through the streets of LA, going in excess of 100 and something miles an hour, flying through neighborhoods, then eventually on the freeway, and then the car stops, and then he gets out, and he takes off running. And the whole time, their lives are at jeopardy of hitting other vehicles. So what happens? They catch up to him, and they beat the living shit out of him. That's what the mob would do. So that's why the verdict was the way it was. Not making it right, but when you constantly put somebody's life at risk and they got to chase you down to prevent you from harming others because they're afraid. Now Rodney King, he was just on drugs and he was scared. But by speeding through the streets, he could have killed people at that excessive speed. And the officers chasing him, they understood that. And Rodney King, he would have just been busted for drug use. That's it. He compounded the situation when he ran. But these people are constantly getting bullied on the highway and on roads But let's take this to real life. You're in traffic, and I've sit in immense traffic in LA, Arizona, New York, you name it. And no one would dare do that. And I've sat getting out of events, and people wait in line until it's their turn. And anyone who doesn't, and I've seen a couple people beep, and people go ballistic on them. And that, the beeping doesn't continue. They become really meek because the masses turn against them and want to beat the hell out of them. I'm sitting here and waiting, and 90 other people are. It's like the one time when the car I saw waiting for the ducks to cross the highway, and I was one of them waiting in line, and then a guy went around and ran over a couple of the little ducklings, and they were crossing the Kennedy Expressway in the morning, and everybody stopped their cars waiting for the two parent ducks with the little ones behind crossing, and everybody's waiting patient. One guy went around and he ran over a couple of the little ones, and everybody on the highway went ballistic. But the guy stayed in the emergency lane and got off at Irving Park. If he stayed on the highway, people were going to beat the living hell out of him, including myself. I couldn't fucking believe it. I'm here in morning hour rush. I've waited an hour and something to get to the junction, and here's okay, and everybody's waiting patiently, and they were moving across. They weren't stopped. They were moving orderly across, and everybody is waiting except for one person. And the highway exploded, but he went into the emergency lane and then flipped over to the emergency lane and got off at Irving. But I couldn't. So many people, if he stayed on the highway, he would have gotten it. People wanted he killed the two ducklings. You're sitting there, you're being peaceful, you're waiting and being orderly, and here comes this piece of shit. It's like, you ever wait, here I'm by a soundbar, you ever wait in line, and then somebody cuts in line, and then you see the whole line behind saying, dude, or whatever, chick, what the hell are you doing? See all of us, we're waiting in line. What the hell are you doing? We're not talking somebody going in the side, the VIP. We're talking waiting in the general admission line. Everybody's waiting, and somebody cuts the line. Everyone behind wants to take mob action on that person. So, when you say you have friends waiting in line, well, they have to work that out in bars and that, in clubs, that can they really come and join you in line? It's one where you pay somebody to save the spot in line. Do you know what happens? You pay them to hold your spot. When you get there, they leave the line, you step in the line. There's not an added wait for anyone. So everybody accepts people getting paid to hold the space for somebody else. They're paying for that to be done. And when that person shows up, they step out of line, that person steps in line. If they don't, then everybody gets incensed. But what happens to that person who's holding the line? They step out. And you get to step in. People socially accept that because the wait's going to be no longer for them. They're not pushed back another person. You're not impeding their progress. So if you have somebody holding a spot, one person can step in, one person out. Then if you're going to have two people, then you have to have two line sitters. So I wouldn't give it to people that, hey, you're there in line. Your friend gets in the back. Have them pay for a line spotter. Now, if your friend, they dropped you off, you got in line, and they're going to park the car, well, the valet should give you a ticket. And you show your valet ticket that you just parked the car and you can join your friends. Because with that, people allow you, because you were parking the car, had to find the space. Well, show your parking receipt. And then people allow you to join them in line. Because they understand that the person has to stay with the car to park the car. And so they'll drop them off in the line, and then you can come up and join them in the line. That is socially acceptable. But you're in line, and then your friends wander up, and you're waiting, and everybody's waiting, and they're like, yeah, I'm with him right there, and 3 people join you in line. You just bump people 3 back. And we had lines at Dirtbags, and you can't join the people. Get at the back of the line. You can't cut. They were waiting, not you. I don't care if you're friends with them. You go to the back. Now, the club can sell a line holding pass, and you come up as one person and you have 3 people coming, and they tell you, you have 1 plus 3. And they're like, he bought a plus 3. And so they pay $20 a head or something. Truly, like $20. Okay, they can join you in that spot in line. You paid for those people to join you in line. So usually people will accept that. So if you want to fork out the dough, then I can see that happening. So not line waiters, the club can sell little passes that you can join them in that spot in line. Truly. And people need to go to the washroom in that. And just like I went to Disney World and Great America, if you had to go to the washroom and you're waiting in a long line, they let you out of line and you can go to the washroom and you can come right back to your spot. Because everybody understands waiting in a long line, sometimes you got to go to the bathroom. You didn't anticipate going to the bathroom because you would have went before. But the bathroom urge, and everybody takes that as acceptable. I've been at Disney World. I've been at Great America. And truly, people like the whatever coaster. And I had to get on a line and go to the bathroom. And it's like, excuse me, going to the bathroom. And then you can go right back to your line. Just went to the bathroom. and they see you going out, so they're in front of you, and they see you leaving, so it's not like you just magically appeared. That's a line cutter. They see you, and you're like going to the bathroom. Or if some emergency, you had to leave and do something out of line, people will let you back into your spot. I'll go straight. But that's acceptable. But these clubs can sell passes and say 10 or 20 bucks a head to hold the space in line. So, again, there's this etiquette. And I'm sick and tired of these people. So I give you the traffic jam scenario, and you would get mob action against you. So these people that have been doing it to me, shouldn't they get mob action against them? Everybody wants to beat them into the ground. Because I certainly do. And my friend Raul, he's Indian, and he felt the same way. That he wanted to beat them into the ground. They're breaking the cultural understanding of you have to wait your turn. Now, since people aren't doing it, why don't we make it into a law then? That if you don't wait your turn in traffic, you get a ticket for cutting in line. So like on the highway, ask my brother John. For years, he hated people that would pull up on the side, bypass the line, then pull up on the side, then try to merge in. And I'd be with him, and he'd be like, I want to beat the living. Him and John Sr. both. Like, I just waited on this line, and now you're coming up and from the side, and you're going to cut in. They wanted to kick the shit out of him. So, if people don't do it through social pressure and shaming, then we have to make it a law, and that person needs to be punished for cutting in line. So if you're going down the street, there's somebody in front of you, too effing bad. You either wait or you go to jail. Teaching people to respect each other. Like the guy at the gas station, he coughs. Instead of turning his head to the side, he coughs directly in my face. Multiple times. What the hell is with that? People not respecting each other. That's desecration. So, self-regulating organizations are public shaming and public pressure. What are media? Do you know what a newspaper is? It is a self-regulating organization. They publish stories on people, and people feel community pressure for their sins, and they adjust, like the guy who wrote the book on warts. God rest his soul. He passed. He was a slumlord, and he wrote the book. Now, Rocky wasn't part of that. He inherited it. And he wrote a book on it, and Rocky took care of the issues in the book. He made him aware of the issues related to his father, and he took care of the issues. So that was done, and that was my father, but that's not me. And I addressed it, and the guy stopped selling the book outside the United Center. So he addressed it by saying, okay, give me a copy of the book, and he took care of the issues that the guy said. He looked them up and addressed the issues. And so the guy can still sell the book. It wasn't a lie. He could have sued them for slander, but it wasn't. So he's like, okay, my father did, okay, I'll address those issues. And he addressed those issues. He couldn't stop the guy from the book because it was the truth. There was no slander. So he has two choices. Trying to, ignore it or discount it somehow, or take it and address all the issues and say, that was my father, not me. And I've addressed all the issues in the book. And we're moving forward. I donated to blank charity, or I donated to Renters Assistance Fund, because his father was a slumlord. And so he addressed issues. I don't remember exactly how, but that was the right thing to do. He made them go away so it doesn't affect him. That was my father and not me. So you can learn from Rocky that it might be your name, but you do things differently, and those issues aren't part of your legacy. That was like Germany, what they do with Israel and their reparations. That's not part of the German people. That was the past. Grandfathers, great-grandfathers, nothing to do with us. And that's the point of the Native Americans and slavery. That has nothing to do with us. That wasn't me or my grandparents or my great-grandparents or my great-great-grandparents. None of them had anything to do with it. So that's not my burden. So you can't bring that up and act like that's some current issue. That's something that happened a long time ago, and they've dealt with it in many different ways. That's not a current issue. But black people grow up with, oh, I got this chip on my shoulder, and I've told them at Bajan, like, hey, bro, there's no one here that's discriminating against you. And there wasn't. It was absolutely true. And they called everybody racist, male and female. And I had Julio, a Hispanic manager, and others, and it's like, screw it. And I'm like, none of these people have anything to do with that. We have black bartenders. We had Lisa, a black cocktail waitress. You're in a position because of your skill level. Not because somebody discriminated against you. And then I gave them extra tip out, which the bartenders and, cocktail waitresses weren't happy about. I had them give me $5, each of them. They had to give $5, and it went to the porters. And it was a lot of money, hundreds and hundreds of dollars, because we had lots of cocktails and bartenders on the weekends and that. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And so they got a lot of extra money in their pocket. But they still kept on complaining. And I ran all the trash with them and the ice and you know what? That wasn't my department. Kenny was the manager of the porters. That wasn't my department. But I took all the headaches for Kenny. I ran the door. But, then I ran the cocktail waitresses and the bartenders, doing Sean Penn and Jerry Rodriguez. He was another Hispanic manager that we had. Julio, Jerry Rodriguez, then there was Mark Escobedo, and so on. But the whole point is, that's not my freaking issue. Shut the fuck up. It's like sanctuary cities. You came in illegally. That's not my fault. I wasn't in your country. Do you know how many international charities I've donated to and assisted? Unbelievable. That go into Mexico and every other country around the world. One of them, the Red Cross, that I've been giving to since I've been a child. And then Vanguard, United Way, they fund other charities all over the place. But again, that's not my issue. So I didn't choose that your leader and your government were pieces of shit in your country and they ran it into the ground or kept it running into the ground. That's on you and your people. I have nothing to do with that. I've given everything trying to change it for the positive. And then you come in here and you're not refugees. Your system was screwed up. And instead of working to change it, you abandoned it. Illegally, we have a visa system. We accept people in all the time when they apply. And they don't have criminal background checks and that. And we accept refugees and other things. But you have to go through the right system. And there is temporary labor firms that place people globally, but they go through the visa and everything else. They go through the proper systems. So how is that my problem? It isn't. So your sanctuary cities is your problem. You're an illegal. You broke in illegally. You don't want to make restitution. You don't want to pay penance and anything for your sin. That's on you. That's not my problem. I had nothing to do with them creating sanctuary cities. I had nothing to do with them not doing border security properly. If they did, you wouldn't be here in the first place. You would have been forced to go through the legal system. And you would have been forced to work on the attributes of your country, or you would just suffer. But how is that my burden? And the reason I'm talking about this, I'm a child, I don't know, 6, 7, I forget when, and the black guy comes in from the outside, and he's big and powerful and young, and he was muscular and strong, and he stands up in front of my class telling me he's there to beat the shit out of white girls and boys. And he started off with a mentally challenged white boy. And I couldn't take it. So when he went for the 2x4, he had a 2x4, he called Mr. Jaws. He carved it to his hands. He had holes in it. And he explained, here I have the hand carving so I can grip the 2x4 properly. I drilled the holes in it so it doesn't have as much drag. So when I bring it, it will come faster and there won't be any atmosphere because the air will be forced through the holes. So it will hit you incredibly hard. Unlike our pledge paddles that were smooth, didn't have any holes to, increase the speed of the paddle through the movement of the air. He did. And so I stood up and I told him, stop beating on that kid. And he's like, oh yeah, you're so brave, get up here. I went up there and he beat me and beat me and beat me. But the funny thing is, I didn't cry. I didn't cry when I got into the closet because Clarence was already in there. But when I saw Clarence crying and we looked at each other, I shed some tears. But I wasn't giving the piece of garbage satisfaction. And do you know what? He stopped hitting Clarence and he didn't hit anyone else. Because I stood up to him and he got no satisfaction. Now, I'm a small child. This is a fully grown 20-something-year-old man who was incredibly physically gifted. It wasn't like a small little black guy. It was like a Chicago Bears football player. He had big muscles. That's why he said he kicked the shit out of any of our fathers. If they have any problems, bring your father to school. The kids were scared of him. He's a big, powerful black guy. Big muscles. But what happened? And he said, boys and girls. He moved to a 7th grade class. He was a substitute teacher. He moved to the 7th grade class. And he used the yardstick first. Mr. Jaws was only when he broke the yardstick. He broke the yardstick on Clarence. It was Clarence's second time being beat from him. The first time, he didn't break the yardstick. The second time, he snapped it on Clarence. He hit him so hard. And then he went for the 2x4. And I wasn't going to take it. But he got away with it in our class. No one said anything. And he went to another class, and he got a white girl and brought her up and beat her in front of the class. Now, he said the same thing in the 7th grade class. But no one told the administration or anything. Again, they were all scared. But the little girl, she did tell her father. The 7th grade girl told her father. And what did her father do? Her father told every other father that he knew that went to Patrick Henry, and there was tons of white males in front of Patrick Henry demanding he come outside. And when the principal saw the crowd of all these white fathers of students telling him, send the black man out, I don't know what would happen, but I would assume they would have lynched him. Truly. Because they were, and the principal got very scared and snuck him out the back door. And that was the end of it. He wasn't there. The principal came out, told him he left. He's not in the school anymore. The fathers didn't track him down or anything. They didn't hire a detective or sue the school because they could have sued Patrick Henry. I got beat by a 2x4. Do you know what kind of lawsuit that could have been? I'll let you know that the kid who in Indiana, when I was at the church, they spanked him by hand on the butt and not pulling down his pants or anything, right on top of his clothes. Not that hard. He was acting out, and he wouldn't settle down, and they bent him over a knee and spanked his butt with the hand. There were no big wilts in his, no damage. And guess what? They won a big, huge lawsuit against the church, and the church had to shut down, and the church paid out, I don't know, I think $1 million. You can look it up. But a big settlement. And I don't know what happened to the individual that did the spanking of the child. But they shut down the church. I used to go into that church in Indiana, bus there from my neighborhood all the way into Indiana to go to church as a 6-year-old child. And they were super good to me. They baptized me. Those people were super nice. I never assumed them do anything wrong. And that kid was a punk. That kid was in the wrong. And they disciplined him righteously, but they had no approval. And they lost the suit in court. Now, what would you think happened to Patrick Henry? All those white fathers never sued. You know, it probably would have been one of the largest lawsuits in Chicago public school history, because he beat me, he beat Clarence, he beat the girl, and I don't know how many other male and female whites in the class. He never got sued. He never got charged criminally. And he beat me with a 2x4. And so you talk about child abuse. Doesn't that fit the definition of incredible child abuse? And then this city has a black guy come up to me, sit across the bar, and start telling me what to do, and then beats me in the street, and then they call me racist and everything else? You gotta be kidding me. That was the warning in 2016. You touch me in any way, shape, or form, God's going to slaughter you all and everybody that supports you. But you have to understand what he's seen through my life that you've done to me. And no matter how I explain this to you, you think God loves you. He hates your fucking guts. He fucking hates you. But somehow you keep on terrorizing me. Where in a righteous society, they would start offing people here. Until people were very scared to do anything wrong towards me. In any way, look at me wrong, speak to me wrong, threaten me, you would be put down. So, I don't get it. He gets away. No criminal charges, nothing. For abusing numerous white kids. And standing up in class and telling us he was there, the only reason he substituted there was to beat the shit out of white kids. Have you ever heard a white guy sit in a black classroom saying, I'm here to beat the shit out of you you black males and females? Not even the KKK did that. Truly, not even the KKK did that to schools down south. That they went into and beat black children. Emmett Till wasn't in school. But all this doesn't get mentioned. But all you hear about is Emmett Till. And I was trying to do it the right way and not mention this stuff. Meaning the right way. Meaning I was trying to work through the community. I did all this goodwill to the black community. And I was hoping to change it through urban ministries and Pacific Gardens, the Salvation Army, and numerous other charities, trying to get them to change. But the funny thing is, they keep on bringing up that stuff, and I've had nothing to do with it, and none of my friends have ever had anything to do with it. So when do we stop getting punished for sins? And it's not in my family line. My family, my whole bloodline has nothing to do with slavery. So again, I don't understand this stuff. And you get my mom, I was thinking the last several years of her life, and I got to live with this. My mother telling me that no one likes me, that I have no friends, that I'm a mean person, that I can't pay my bills after they took away my practice and everything else. For the last 2 years, not once did she say, in the last 2 years of her life, not once did she ever say, I love you, Michael. And then I sit with her supposedly on her deathbed, that she can't talk, and I'm there and I pray for her. But she can't say a word. And not once did my mother in the last 2 years of her life say anything but extremely negative things about me. That no one likes me, I have no friends, I can't pay my bills, and then she kept on preaching I should go bankrupt and so on. Not supporting, hey Michael, I'm going through all kinds of health, mental and physical health issues, major, and the last 2 years of life, she's ripping on me, literally almost every day. And then on her deathbed, she can't talk. So I got to live with that trauma until I die. That my mom thought I was a piece of shit. That I'm incompetent, can't pay my bills, that I'm mean to everybody, that no one likes me, that I'm just this evil person, basically, she was conveying. And it built up inside me. When she died, I felt relieved and great hatred towards her. Unbelievable hatred towards her. And I was waiting for her to tell me at any time, I love you. No. No apology, no I love you, just died. And then my brother tells me that David Kudo, my former partner, he said that I did him wrong and he said all kinds of nasty things about me. And so all they were doing on my Facebook and everything else, everybody is telling me how horrible a person I am and how incompetent I am and how terrible I am. And the funny thing, getting back to my mother, but she could tell me to donate more to Pacific Gardens because I was giving a lot of clothing donations and I had clothes that I wanted to give away. And when she told me that, I stopped. I didn't give anymore. Why are you now encouraging me to donate to Pacific Gardens? And you're saying negative things to me. But you know about my donations and other things, and you changed to saying negative. Where in 2014-ish, she became a big supporter of me. and finally knew a little bit about all the things I did through my life and started saying nice things and good things. And then it all flipped in 16, 17 to her saying all kinds of horrible things about me. As I'm losing my business and my health and everything else, I don't have a mother nurturing me. I have a mother telling me I'm a piece of garbage every day. So, this is what I have to live through. All these people beating on me, kicking me out of 100 plus places, and constantly disgracing me. That I'm some kind of horrible person. Yeah. And how many black people 2016 before, I don't care about what happened after, went to Africa and did things for children in Africa and people in Africa? I did. A lot of my life. Besides physically going there, I donated in that and helped international charities that help people in Africa. But I run into black people here, and they call themselves African American. I'm like, and what have you ever done? Barack Obama didn't do anything for Africa. Not a damn thing. When Nigeria was having problems with the Cayman Rouge, and oil companies were thinking of pulling out of Africa because the terrorist groups were sabotaging their pipelines, making it too expensive and too risky to their people. Truly. So they were moving to New Zealand and other places that had more stable environments, less risk to their people, more consistent oil, don't have to worry about their pipelines being tapped into or blown up. And I felt really bad. And I wrote to him about, maybe you think about giving them the support of the U.S. military and wiping out these terrorist organizations so these oil companies don't pull out of Africa, leaving these people without resources. So, but I didn't see any of that from him. But I wrote him and Joe Biden. But again, I'm down here at Museum Park. But why should I suffer all of this continuous negativity with health issues, and I go in places and everybody disrespects me and they kick me out of all these places and they threaten to attack me? Hispanics and blacks have been attacking me unbelievably for the last 10 years, but also white people at the Starbucks on North and Wells, 2 different white guys. I don't go back there anymore. Then I had Asian at the Jinbu grocery store, an Asian guy attacking me, and I said, you can stay here, I'll just walk around. And that's all I said to him. You can stay, don't have to move, I'll go around, and, you were there first. And he threatened me in the grocery store numerous times, then came up to my face threatening me. And all I said was, you can stay there and I'll just go around. I don't want to disturb you. And I wasn't anywhere near him. I was a distance back, way back from him. And he followed me, tracked me, and then ran up and threatened me to my face. It's just like Portillo's. I'm mad, and I'm in my car, and the Asian guy comes up and he threatens me, and then he sticks his head in my car and tells me I should, he's going to take me out back and beat the living shit out of me. And I told him, I'm rolling up my window now. Can you, take your head out of the car? And I rolled up and I waited for the police to come. And the police didn't do anything. So it's always me getting attacked by all these different people and them getting to walk away. I mean, how many times I tell you about the Hispanic guy who shot at my house in Tucson, or the Hispanic group of Hispanic kids, male and female. The males ran up and punched me in the back of the head in Tucson, trying to drop me, and I have to fend them off until my friends come. But I can give you all the black guys sticking guns to my head and people threatening. Why do I need all of this? I'm 59 years old. Why should I be sick? Why should I continue to suffer with all that negativity, all that negative baggage, that somehow I should continue to suffer, and that everybody else can go out and party, live it up, have good lives, have their career, go on Shark Tank, have the profit solve their problems, or Bar Rescue solve their problems, and all these people get the better life, and you shackle me. Like I watched the Special Olympics, and they get all these people helping them with their training and helping them there and helping them here and trying to make an incredible life for all these Special Olympic athletes. Then the Paralympics, and they're helping them there, specialized wheelchairs so they can do para racing and everything. And they have the coaching and the food, and they have all the support, and then they get the media coverage on the news, and everybody's saying, you can do it, and they're all sporting the Special and Paralympics, and they're all donating and helping them and patting them on the back. But I get everybody threatening my life and beating on me and cursing me while they drive around in their luxury cars. And then not only are they in their luxury, but then they spit on me and curse me, roll down their window and attack me. What would you do to them? That might be their last day on this planet, if you were righteous. So I really don't understand this stuff. We send in the Marines and get El Chapo, and we go after, and if we need to kill people, we kill as many people as necessary to take them down, including killing them. That's what we did with Bin Laden, right? So no matter what it took, as George Bush says, we will end them. No matter what it takes. And I agree. So, but somehow they get to drive around in luxury, and they get held up, and they're honored, and they have no problems, and they get to live in the nicest of structures and buildings. And I get disgraced. And these black people, they haven't done anything for their own race. Nothing. And there aren't white people beating them and everything else like I was. Black guy beating me and other minorities disgracing me from childhood. From childhood. And I took all that and I turned the other cheek. And I powered forward continuously. And they continuously did these evil things to me. Consistently. And I still ignored and powered through and kept on supporting and hoping they moved to a more positive situation. But the reason I'm telling you, because I'm pissed at what they've done to my life now. That they make me live in this great shame. That I'm some kind of loser and I'm some kind of disgraceful person and everything else. And they've done nothing for their own race. I think I've done more for Asian races, Indian races, black races, Hispanic races, and yes, my own white race. Pacific Islanders, than their own people. And then I've done for Jews and Muslims and Hindus and Buddhists. You name it. Rape victims and cancer patients, you name it. I did Susan G. Komen for years. Must end breast cancer. But I supported all these organizations. Volunteering, helping them out. I even talked my ex, Jen, into volunteering when we were still together at an all-black school. And they really liked her after-school tutoring. And I brought them a ping pong table high-end, and I was trying to get people to teach them how to play ping pong. Start a ping pong club, but I got them a big, world-class ping pong table. So it's interesting. And Jen was with us. We did Chicago Care and all kinds of things in the black community. She was with me. That was all my initiative that she followed along. But somehow they can threaten my life and talk back to me. So I'm by 1515 South Prairie where I used to live with her. The love of my life. But it's funny. And I'll tell you what happened at the end of Children's, too. After a decade and a half of volunteering, my partner, David, for 2 years was hounding me to quit. So I talked to Bo, who was, ran the volunteers, second in charge. And I told him I want to move to Saturdays. That way I can get David to shut up, but still volunteer on Saturdays at the Children's Hospital. And so as I was moving over and I was finishing up no more weekday volunteering, Mary, who ran the program, gave me a call and said that I can't move to Saturdays and that I need to turn in my badges and so on, my badge and everything, the next day, right away. And why was I told that I had to stop volunteering? Because I talked about business. Because they had us in the volunteer area and they had the new hospital, had all these amazing, TV, video games, all this stuff in room that they didn't want to come to the play area with the volunteers. And I would go to the rooms asking them if they wanted to come down to the play area and do this or that. And most of the time they said no. So we ended up, paying for parking, coming down here, and I'm standing around. Well, what do I do when I stand around? I talk about business. Ask my sister or anyone. So I did what I naturally did. And I can't talk about business. So I can't talk about improving cancer situations, or this, all kinds of business like that. Like the learning program and tutoring at Children's Hospital. Truly, for all those kids, they have I Have a Dream or some other after-school tutoring program, and having them be able to go to school while they're in the Children's Hospital. Whether it's St. Jude's or Shriners or Lurie's Children in Chicago, working with adaptive teaching programs, and they can continue on, so when they get out of their cancer or whatever issue, they're not behind, or at least very minimally, and they can do after-school tutoring there as well. So again, keeping them up the pace so they don't fall behind. So when they beat their disease or get it under control, they don't feel overwhelmed. I'm sorry, you missed 2 years, like my brother Richard. You missed 2 years of school, and so now you're 2 years behind, and you got to make up the 2 years. Because you don't have that skill base. They can't just put you in, say you missed 5th and 6th grade. They can't just start you at 7th grade because you don't have any of the skills that you would have acquired in 5th and 6th grade. So again, they can't just put you in 7th grade. So they have to do this adaptive tutoring program. And that includes if you're going to high school or college. And you get in the hospital, well, the college and that has to do adaptive tutoring or adaptive learning that you can learn through the computer and read and do these things, but they have to have adaptive learning platforms. So when you get out of your treatment, you're up to speed. And I include in the mental health institutions. There was no educational programming. You went in there, and Lake County Department of Health and Cook County and that they weren't tutoring these juveniles that they had in the mental health. There wasn't classroom structure. Why is that? Now, we did go to classes to help with our situation, but there was no tutoring. There was no going to class. And so now they're shackled with less mental and physical ability because there was no gym class you can go to. They didn't have gym class. Basketball, you can play basketball for people with mental health. Even with anger management, they can go out and play basketball. There's like Nerf football. There's things they can do that are incredibly safe, that these things aren't weaponized. But there was no PE for life, physical education. There was no going to classes. And so when these people get out, they're so far behind, like at the adult. There was no like adaptive learning where we could do vocational training. Or we could do educational training, continue on, like my friend Ross. He had cognitive issues, and he got his master's. He finished his college degree and got his master's. Who knows if he got his PhD? And he overcame, but there was, they leave these people behind, like Tracy. She's a friend of mine. She's a black girl married to my friend John. He said, what? Great. But they didn't do any adaptive learning for her or vocational training. she could have done vocational training at the minimum. But they didn't have that and offer it to her. And it would have helped with their family income and everything. And it would have helped her. You go and line up the vocational training with what helps them overcome their disability. You help with the vocational training or education that helps them overcome their cognitive issue. So the vocational training and education, including the PE, is all adaptive to them in their situation to help them overcome their issue. Whether it's at St. Jude, Shriners, or Children's, or adult mental health facilities, Lake County, Cook County, or the juvenile. At least in Joliet, they force them to go to school, and these are people that had drug problems that got put into juvie for drug problems. And I talked to one of them, and he was going and he had to finish high school. It was not only dealing with their drug issue or their other criminal issue, kleptomania or whatever the counseling they need to do, but it was also giving them a vocational and education. So he had to go to school and finish his high school degree. It wasn't an option. Every day he had to get up and do certain things related to his addiction and then go to school. So, again, why isn't this integrated? So Tracy never learned a vocation that could help her with her emotional feelings. There are many vocations, and if you pick the right vocation, the vocation itself becomes the cure. Meaning, part of the cure. The vocation becomes part of the cure. And so you team up the vocation or the learning to help them, like Down syndrome children. What hemisphere of their brain do you need to work on? Like their motor skills and so on, and PE, and they need to do resistance training. And so you design the physical education to overcome their shortcomings. And then you design the mental education, besides their normal therapy and everything, the mental education to overcome their shortcomings in their cognitive structure, so it's focused to build out that area of their brain that they're deficient. So they're able to grow up with a well-rounded brain. The motor skills, the hippocampus, and everything else is properly developed. And they don't go up and like, and that's the same thing for stuttering. So again, it's supposed to be taken care of. Like I had to do, Sally had seashores at the seashore and do all my tongue placement, and then I had to do the statements every day, tongue exercises, and then my teacher was there working with placement of the tongue, and I had to read stuff every day to overcome my speech impediment. So when somebody has a stutter in that, I don't care. Meaning, go out there and fix it. I had to do it myself. You need to do it. I shouldn't cry for you. I might kick you in the ass. You lazy piece of shit. But I'll give you the benefit of the doubt that your ignorance didn't know better. And that the people around you were incompetent or negligent. But it's like the kid at Walmart. And why would you put them in the front of the house? So the customers get all pissed off? That's not putting him in a position to succeed. That's putting him in a position where people are going to feel great hostility towards him. The Lighthouse for the Blind. I called the Illinois Tollway. And members of the Lighthouse for the Blind answered. And you know what? I didn't know they were blind. And they took care of everything I needed very, very efficiently. They helped solve my problems. They set them up to be heroes, to walk away from work every day and feel like they really helped the customers and really accomplished something, not only for the customers, they feel fulfilled themselves, and they fulfilled the obligation of the tollway authority. Being efficient at their job, being competent, and they're blind people. But that's putting them in the right vocation to set them up for success. Not people being mad at them. You incompetent piece, you can't do this. They can do it all. What they needed to do for the position. And do it effectively. That's how it's supposed to work. It's just like immigrants coming in. They come in, they need to be plugged into the system correctly. But we bring people only in that want to be here. That want America to get stronger. If not, that's called importing terrorism. Because if they don't want to improve America, then they come in to destroy America. And that means you're importing terrorists. So if an immigrant isn't in it for the better of America, then they shouldn't be here, whether they're going to an educational institution or not. They're in it for the better of America. As we're bettering them, they better be bettering us. I scratch your back, you scratch our back. And if they don't want to do the reciprocity, they shouldn't be allowed into our educational system. Because they have a moral and ethical obligation to help America truly pay us back. You're paying for the tuition, but we're giving you something that we don't have to give you. So it goes way beyond the money. So you have an obligation. So why would you be importing domestic terrorists? Isn't that what we did with the cartels? We allowed terrorists to come into this country? Isn't that what we did with the MS-13 and all these gangs? We imported terrorists. And they brought the Italian mafia, the Russian mafia, and they brought all their criminals with them and all their criminal organization, and they kill, murder, and slaughter. So we only bring people into America that are here for the better of America. Because if not, they're terrorists. It is really that black and white. And this goes for any country like China. My friends have gone over there, like Megan and April and others, and they go over there and they help their little flower project. Well, Megan didn't. She was there before, but she went over there to help their infants that were having difficulties. And she volunteered and spent time in China. Her mother is Malaysian Chinese. Her father is Japanese. And so she went to China to work with their newborns, helping them. She was a benefactor to their country. Just like the Japanese guy who worked for World Vision. He went into a typical Ghana, where I was trying to help the Ghanaians as well. Well, so was he, working for World Vision, trying to help better Ghana, help better the Ghanaians. You don't bring in terrorists. Either they're fully with the mission of making America stronger, or they should not be here. Period. They're the definition of terrorist. They come in to great terror. MS-13, murdering, killing, raping, building cartels, wherever. The Italian mafia, they were white. Russian, they were white. They didn't come in for the benefit of America. They came in to terrorize, destroy. They're domestic terrorists you brought in. They're international terrorists too, their organization. So you only bring in people that want to make this country better. That's a requirement. And if they're not, then they shouldn't be here. My friend goes to Saudi Arabia. He works on the exchanges. He fills roles in that country. And he does good things for that country. And when you're there, you can volunteer. My friend Sylvia, she went down to Latin America. My friend Carol, she went down to Latin America. And they worked through organizations trying to make those countries they were in better. So I have friends that went into all over the place trying to make their countries better. So when somebody comes here, I expect the same thing. Either they're trying to make this country better or they don't belong in America. They're a terrorist. Just like if our people go over there and destroy their country, they're domestic terrorists over there. But my friends go around the world trying to make their countries better. And I expect when people from their countries come here, they're trying to make our country better. Like my friends who leased an island in Cancun. You know how much money they gave the Mexican government? They built all the resorts out of their pocket. They built all the resorts, no stipend from the Mexican government or anything. And they built all the beach resorts in Cancun. And they pay the Mexican government a fortune. I don't know how many billions of dollars. And we're talking billions of dollars they give to the Mexican. They built an economy in Cancun. And they're improving it. And they give the Mexican government billions of dollars. Bettering the Mexican economy. Bettering the Mexican people. Giving them fine resorts. They work in places and water treatment they have and everything. And they benefit. I've been into the El Centro in Cancun. And that's where most of all of them live. And I went to Senor Papa's. And they have these big potatoes. And I wanted to eat where, you know, the locals live. And it's actually great restaurants. And it was actually really good prices. But really good food. And these had these huge stuffed baked potatoes. Like 1 potato, 2 potato, I think it was at Northbrook Court. But they had smaller ones. But you could stuff the potato with all kinds of things. Well, they had this, but with really big potatoes. My friend Mark Cohen was there, and Matt, but the point is, I wanted to go in and eat there and see how they lived and how, you know, their urban living was. And they were living very nicely. Very nicely. And so their people were getting treated very well. They were living in conditions way better than other people in Mexico. Their living conditions for the workers, the Mexicans that worked there, were way beyond living conditions of other places in Mexico. They were living very well. They made very good money. They were well taken care of. And they pump in billions to the Mexican government. So, being benefactors. And then there's the offshore group, which I don't know them personally, but that's through my brother-in-law. And they were building facilities in Mexico, and they were cleaning up stuff, environmental cleanup and everything else, and opening all kinds of manufacturing in that and bringing really good paying jobs to the Mexican citizens. So I don't get it. All these people doing the right thing, and we bring in people here to destroy our country, and we put up with their bullshit? We shouldn't put up with their bullshit. They got a fresh opportunity. Let's grab Miss Park from North Korea. She grew up in North Korea, and then she went to China, held in slavery and everything else, and was slave trafficked and human trafficked in that, and then the missionaries helped her get to Mongolia, and she went to South Korea. She started educating, and then she came over. She applied through the visa system. She went into South Korea legally, and then she went into the United States applying for a visa. She went to Columbia University, one of the toughest universities in the United States, and she got in, and she started in North Korea with conditions way worse than Mexico, where they literally were eating people to live. Mexico's one of the fattest, obese countries in the world now. It became number one. Not a lot of Mexicans starving. So she comes in and she shows excellence and calls herself the learning machine and does all the right things and tries to be a benefactor, becomes a U.S. citizen, and she wants to be a patriot, and she wants things to go right for America. And she works her ass off to be the best citizen she can be. So, why should we expect less? She should be a shining example of what we expect from our immigrants, and nothing less. She doesn't get into bar fights. She doesn't go around getting drunk and stupid and everything else, as far as everything I know. And she just keeps on trying to do better things. So, why should we think less? And then, how about my ex's family? Jennifer Kim. Her mother and father came in from Korea. And her father had an import-export business. It folded. He didn't become a criminal. The business folded. Family running through some hard times. Her father didn't turn to, oh, now I'm going to be this big Asian criminal in the United States to support my family. No. The mother stepped up and opened a dry cleaning business. Now, she didn't have the machine skills and infrastructure in that. What she did with a dry cleaning store, she sends it out to a plant, and it comes back from the plant. She just drums up the customers. And all she had to do is put up some racks for the clothing. Truly, it wasn't automated, and she just had these long racks, and you put up A, B, C, and D, and you know, put them in order. And really, very low capital startup. Truly, she went into something that was very minimally capital intense. She picked a neighborhood here in Chicago, and she picked correctly, and her OK Cleaners made great money, and she does an exceptional job. But she picked up, her husband fell down, and she got right up. They didn't turn to, oh, we're going to be a family of criminals. And so, again, these are immigrants. They're Korean, but they didn't turn to like, oh, my husband lost the business, now we're turning to... I'm not saying everyone's like them, but those are examples of immigrants we want. And things fall on hard times, and the mother goes to work, and they don't go on social welfare or anything. They pick themselves up, and then their daughter works very hard, being very studious, and gets a very good job. She interns during college at the University of Illinois, at Ernst & Young, and then she goes to college, she gets out, and starts working for Ernst & Young. And then she moved to Real Foundation when some guys who were partners up at Ernst & Young spun off and started their own thing called Real Foundations that deals with, you know, the real estate industry, doing, you know, software and other types of technology upgrades for them, trying to help make builders like Toll Brothers and others more efficient in what they do. But she pays for her sister's college. They didn't take Pell Grants or anything. She didn't take Pell Grants. Her mother paid for her whole tuition out of pocket. And then Jen paid for her sister. And then her brother got a full scholarship, Caddy scholarship, to the University of Illinois. That gave housing, food, books, and everything else. But they didn't take any government money. I know for a fact. So I was setting up things for Charles, but Charles got the scholarship and he didn't need the other resources. But the thing is, I'm not against the Pell Grant and the MAP grant and them using it to step up. I'm just saying, why do we accept people coming into this country to destroy it? To bring their criminal organizations in, to do these horrible things, to not respect our rule of law. So why do we put up with that? And why should these people be dumping on me? Why should I suffer from any negativity from them? So, I don't get this. I was going to talk about different things down here, but I'll post this on YouTube. Who knows if anyone will ever hear it. But I should suffer no form of disgrace. And we shouldn't be allowing in any form of immigrants that are doing anything but making this country better. And those that aren't, we need to get rid of them. We didn't sign on to be their benefactors of their criminal organizations or their criminal intent. Because what congressman or government official would get reelected, or a police chief, when you tell the people, yes, we bring in immigrants, and then we set them loose on you, the citizens, You think that would go over well in China or South Korea? That we bring in immigrants and we're going to let them rob you, mug you, rape you, torture you, kill you. I don't think that would go over well. We're going to bring them in and they're in a drug deal and do all these criminal things. They're in the scam you and everything. I don't think those leaders would be in their positions too long. So I don't think any country in the world wants that. And so I don't get it. And I can give you many countries, they make it clear. Either you're coming in and you're benefiting us, or you're not coming in. And if you're not, when you're here, then we're getting rid of you. So we said we take your huddled masses, you're tired, you're poor, you're discouraged. We didn't say we take your criminal, thieves, lying, murdering, cheating pieces of garbage. And the point of that statement is American dream. We'll give you an opportunity to make a better life. But you better take advantage of the opportunity or we're going to get rid of you. So you signed up to take advantage of the opportunity. We expect you to put in the work to do America right. Don't ask what you can do for yourself, but ask what you can do for your country. And what did he talk about? JFK. Americans pursuing excellence. That's what he was talking about. That by you, everyday citizens, trying to be the best you can be, strengthening this country. That's what he was talking about. He was talking about you going out and every day be the best you can at your job. Give it your all. And in turn, you will strengthen this country. So go out there and try your damnedest to be the best you can be. And we give all kinds of assistance helping you try to be the best you can be. So, again, that's what we do. That's the whole premise of the American dream. And the American dream is just not for immigrants. It's for citizens and immigrants. It's for all that are under this roof. But somehow, it seems that I'm carved out of the American dream. That me, no, I just got to live in squalor and pain and misery and everything else for the rest of my life. And people can disrespect me and terrorize me every day. And that's supposed to be the way it is. And I didn't know. I grew up in hell. But anyways, this used to be a great restaurant. And what they did inside of this place right here, it's on Randolph, to change the inside every single day, they had curtains. And they would change the curtains. Now, sometimes just moving the color patterns around, and truly, just rearranging the curtains, tying them in, with a ribbon, sometimes fanning them out other times, or moving that color segment around. and sometimes bringing in new curtains. But the thing is, they constantly made it look fresh. Think about a nightclub doing curtains or projecting images. Like there was a nightclub that you walk down this pathway, and like it was on Clark, and it would project images, and they would change the images. You can project images on the wall, and those images of different pieces of art or different depictions or the Chicago skyline. Or you can get a wall that's an LED, like they have the big stadium screens. Well, you can put that on 4 sides of your nightclub, the 4 walls of your nightclub. It can be fragmented, and you can change the panels to different colors. One of my friends, he had a floor, and under it, on the top, it was a clear plexiglass, and under it was all kinds of lights. And the floor would change colors, and he would change the patterns of the lights going on and off in that. Very subtle, but you walk off the floor, and the floor would have different patterns, different colors of lights. And so the floor looked different every time you went into the bar. It was a bar, kind of a club. It was like Y Bar. You know, meaning that type of lounge. That's what it was. Not a bar, it was a lounge. A high-end lounge. And I used to be good friends with him. And he got into the food industry. But again, the floor. How many nightclubs you walk into that the floor changes? Not only the walls change, but you come in and it's totally different. The floor has a different lighting. The walls have different designs by either curtains or screens, or you can do shades. There are wide shades that you can roll down and rotate different shades that could have different depictions on them. So there's a lot of ways to change the look to make it incredibly unique. And so think about that. And so when they come into the environment, that the environment is totally different. Change your tablecloths. Truly. You can have, like they have the white paper. Well, create patterns. One day, checkered paper. Other day, maybe the picture of the Mona Lisa on that. And you have a little glass top, and under it is, the picture of the Mona Lisa. And you're doing these things that continuously spice up the environment. So each time they come in, it's a unique feeling. It's a little bit different. It's a little bit wonderful. So think about that. How making things dynamic instead of static. And so every day they wonder what the environment's going to be like. And they walk in and, someday, sometimes they're not going to like it, but the next day it's going to be totally different. So not every time they're going to be like ecstatic, but the whole point is they get different experiences. And most of the time it's going to be very pleasing to them. And so it creates this change in nuances. It's like, you ever see the Sears Tower and the John Hancock? They change the color of the lights on the antenna. That changes the look of the building. Yeah, they put green on the antenna for St. Paddy's Day. They put red and white, one antenna red, like, and another antenna white for Christmas or whatever. Like the Trump Tower antenna, they can make it shine orange light on it for the Chicago Bears. And they could project on the side of it Chicago Bears. It's a fat antenna. They can do orange with the projection Chicago Bears. And it can even roll up or roll down with the projection. Truly, the projection can roll down and says Chicago Bears, and then it says something else. It could even roll down the score of the game on the antenna with a projector. It's front projection, and all you're using is a front projector. Just like, you know, those projectors that would project things on the screen, you know, you had in class if you're my age. So they project things on top of this building. So all this is a simple projector, and you're figuring out, you know, how to do it. They have to pull down the curtains, all right, the shades, and then you can bounce all kinds of lighted patterns. But again, you're causing things to be more dynamic, more special, and life should be a little bit amazing every single day. Truly. And every single day there should be something to remember, something that makes you smile. Something like, wow, that little blink, and you think back to that day. And so, again, here I'm looking at a news truck, and like the weatherman, I was saying this today, I don't understand. So the storm's coming up. How about talk about, you know, how to properly outfit you, or for the hot weather. Not only stay hydrated, but, you know, because the sun's intensity, we recommend SPF 30 today. It's going to be clear skies and a really hot one. And so we recommend, you know, a higher sunblock. And if you're going to the beach, you know, the water is blank this temperature and so on. So, you know, wear a diving suit. You know, in cold water, have you ever been in cold water with a diving suit? It's very comfortable. It's initially a little cold, but it warms up and it creates a barrier. Now, the diving suits go down to not extreme cold, but if the water is cold, you wear a diving suit. They do. You watch surfers, they'll wear a diving suit because they go out in the cold Pacific off of California sometimes, or other, into the cold water. They wear a diving suit, and that keeps them warm in the cold water. So again, you can create swimsuits that are diving suits, that have diving material. And say you have a swimsuit, and under the swimsuit, when you get into it, it has diving material. Same material that's for a diving suit, but you step into the swimsuit, and it's the loose trunks in that, but the underneath it, you know, it has the long underwear, like the long john type of underwear. And outside, you have the, you know, loose bathing suit. So you can come up with a one piece the same way for girls, that you can really make it much more fashionable and turn them into swimsuits. Even bras or bikinis the bottom in that could have swimsuit material that keep the breast and private warm. So there's a lot you can do to make the world a better place. And, doing things correctly. But I don't think hurting me should be in any way, shape, form allowed. I think you're just a piece of garbage. And by hurting me, you show you're a piece of garbage. So, again, I shouldn't be hurt. And so, I'm 59. How many more years do I have to suffer? Because my mother, I remember her, she didn't get attacked by anyone. My mother never got attacked. She went out to babysitting jobs and other places. She went down to the kids' soccer in Chicago. And she used to go watch them play soccer on the lakefront and go over here and there. And not a single time was she ever attacked. My mother was never attacked. Not once. No one ever mistreated her at any of the events she went to. So, why should it be different for me now? That I'm older, in her 50s I watched, in her 60s, in her 70s, and she turned 80, and I watched, and no mistreatment. So, why should I be mistreated? So I watched, she goes to all these places, and she was never mistreated. So she never got tailgated. No one hit her with a car. She had one incident, and I came over, she called me in a parking lot. And the cop was wrong, and he could have grabbed the camera from Walmart and so on. But again, that was just one incident. And it was a minor incident. So, if she can go all those decades without ever, she's never been mugged. So again, I don't get it. Why should I suffer through all this negativity? Truly, I shouldn't experience any of it. And these people, and the funny thing is, we went over here from Park Church right to this precinct after service with the pastor, and we stood in the lobby here at this station right here, this Chicago police station. We stood in the lobby and we prayed for the Chicago police officers with the pastor. After church, we walked all over, we stood in the lobby, and we prayed for the Chicago law enforcement. And that was with Park Church. Well, they sure haven't been a benefactor to me. So, my life has been pretty miserable over the last 10 years, and here I'm going. I lose everything, and I'm going in and into the police station literally and praying for the police officers with a bunch of other people. It wasn't my idea, it was the pastor's idea, and I went right along. And we held hands and we prayed for the Chicago police officers, that they find guidance and strength, and they find peace and tranquility, and they are able to bring harmony and peace and maintain order in this city, and may their lives go without being threatened, and overcoming their challenges, and may that be for them and their family and friends and so on. And we prayed for them. So interesting. So I wonder what's going on in these communities, because lots of good things should be going on, because if they're not, then they should be going away. So, as it says in the Founding Fathers and the Constitution, it's mandatory to follow the law. And why is that? They want everybody to move through the system and do the right thing. So if you're disgruntled, you move through the system and write your senator or call your congressman or contact the mayor's office or your aldermanic office. But they want you to use the system that was created for you to address your grievances. And I did. I wrote to the Association of Mayors. That's all the mayors in the United States. And I wrote them stuff, all kinds of stuff. I wrote to the Association of Governors. And that's all the governors in the United States. And I wrote to Congress, and I wrote to the president, and I wrote to the mayor of Chicago and Cook County Board, and there's an association of county commissioners. And I wrote to that, all the county commissioners. So I've been writing a lot and sharing a lot of research and data, hoping they make America greater. So again, I hope they're doing the right things. Hopefully they're making America better. Hopefully they're making America greater. Because I've been writing, like there's the International Association of Police Officers, them, and then there's the National Association, I think it is, of Police Officers, or the National Fraternal Organization of Police Officers. But again, I write into all these organizations and everything else, hoping for a better tomorrow, hoping we can move forward in a better way. So I'm going to leave this video here, but I wanted to air some feelings.